There was a priest named Brennan Manning, and he wrote a book, the Ragamuffin Gospel. Now, the then Father Brennan was a great communicator, great preacher. Many people came to Jesus through his preaching. He was animating and inspiring. But he struggled. Brennan was an alcoholic. Not in the past tense, in the present. While he brought many to Jesus, he actively struggled with alcoholism. He would get sober and then relapse. And in this book, he writes of God's mercy. The last time he relapsed, it became public, a public scandal. And all who looked to him were scandalized. He was embarrassed and ashamed. And one afternoon, he walked into a church just by himself. No one there. And he sat before Jesus on the Blessed Sacrament, and he said, God, I don't know if you're still there, but if you are, I am here. After all of the preaching and inspiration, he did not claim any form of theological knowledge. He just said to the Lord, I am here. And this story of Brennan reveals something about us. Because that's not just his prayer. Maybe that has been your prayer at some point in your life, where you're carrying something underneath or beneath the surface, and you do not know what to do. His prayer does not sound like the prayer of someone who has it together, no. It sounds like someone who feels like the door is not open. Let me make this clear to all of us. We do not struggle because God is absent. We struggle because we believe that the door is locked. And once you start believing that the door is locked, everything changes. You do not feel like showing up for Mass, for going to reconciliation and confession. You just feel like staying away. This can sometimes be our story. Indeed, this was the story of the disciples in the gospel that we just heard. They had seen what had happened to Jesus. They caught him and they led him to the cross. And the disciples ran away. When Jesus needed them most, they ran away. In fact, Peter would publicly deny him. When they would say, even you, Peter, you were with this man, Jesus. And he would say, I do not know what you're talking about. I do not know this man. And they were in the room, locked away, tucked away, afraid of the authorities. But I believe strongly that they were also afraid of Jesus. They were ashamed of their own betrayer. But you know, something happened that they were not ready for. While the doors were locked, Jesus stood among them. He appeared among them. He did not go around the door. He went through the door. And the first words of the risen Jesus to his disciples were these: "Peace be with you." If I was Jesus, I would have said, "Heck yeah, you will run away from me." That's what I would say. You ran away. I was counting on you. But he says to them, "Peace be with you." He does not ask them to explain. He does not ask them what happened. He just says, "Peace be with you." And he shows them his wounds. And on his side, they were all still there. But you may wonder, if Jesus is risen from the dead, why does he still carry the marks? Yes, he is transformed, but he carries the mark of his crucifixion, not because he wants to remind the disciples of their failure, but the marks remind them of his love for them. And this is who God is. Jesus did not wait on the outside for the disciples. He did not wait for them to make up their minds. He did not wait for them to change. He comes in and he stands before them. Now, one of Jesus' disciples, Thomas, is not there. And when they say to him, "Oh, we had Jesus show up here. It was so cool to see Jesus," he says, "Unless I can see, unless I can touch, unless I can feel, I refuse to believe." Now, we usually refer to Thomas as the doubting Thomas, right? But in the Eastern Church, there's an ancient image that captures this moment, which they call the touching of Thomas. Because with Thomas, Jesus doesn't stand back. He steps in and he comes closer. And with this image, Jesus comes in and he takes Thomas's hand and he says, "Here, touch it and feel it." And so Jesus guides Thomas's hand. And Jesus is the one reaching out. This was never about Thomas figuring Jesus out, no. It was always about Jesus coming back for Thomas. Coming back to do what? To show his mercy. And what is mercy? It is not the reward for those who have believed well enough. It is the rescue for those who could not believe at all. And that is the pattern. Jesus doesn't wait for people to be ready. He doesn't wait for you to be ready. He comes to you even when the doors are locked. And if this is who Jesus is, if he is the one who walks through locked doors, if he's the one who comes even when you're not ready, the question is, where does this happen now? Yes, it happened to Thomas and the other disciples, but where does it happen now? This is not something that just happened 2,000 years ago. It happens today. The most concrete way that this happens today is in the sacrament of reconciliation. And I know that for a lot of us, there may be some hesitance toward this sacrament. Because it feels like you're entering a room or a space in the confessional where everything that you have hidden away and you have tucked away is about to be revealed. and you don't know if there is going to be some judgment. Confession can be scary, and it can make us ashamed even to want to go. But what if this is not what is waiting for you on the other end? What if it's only Jesus waiting for you, not to scold you, not to make you ashamed, not to make you embarrassed, but to say to us, peace be with you. And when this happens, we walk away free. You enter that space with weight on your shoulders, and you go away free. Every time I go to confession and I step out of the confessional, I say to Jesus, you know, Lord, I want to die right now. Because I know that's a straight ticket to heaven. Now, here is the question for each one of us this morning. What have you locked away? What part of your life are you sealed off, convinced that it is too terrible for you to open? What is that aspect of your life that you have locked away? And if some part of you feels some sense of resistance, and even mentioning that aspect of your life that you have locked away, that's okay. It's in those locked spaces that Jesus wants to enter. And so, if it's been months, if it's been years since you went to the sacrament of mercy and of reconciliation this week, go to confession. He's waiting for you, as Pope Francis would say, not to condemn you, but to offer you mercy. And here is the truth, my friends. You may say, I am not ready. You may never be ready. He doesn't want you to be ready. He just wants us to show up. You may say, I'm afraid I don't know how to say the confession. The priest will guide you. Just show up. Just show up. The priest, Father Manning, Brennan Manning, an ex-Franciscan, he was not ready. Thomas, he wasn't ready for Jesus. The disciples, they were not ready for Jesus. And Jesus came anyway. The door was locked. Jesus is the one who comes when we are not ready. My Lord and my God, Thomas said. My Lord and my God. Take that step. Jesus is waiting for you.